A burned scroll can be read without being opened at all. Researchers did it by virtually unfolding the layers. The problem was simple: if the scroll were unrolled by hand, it could fall apart, so the object had to stay sealed. Virtual unfolding means building a digital model of the layers and separating them on screen. The fragile original never gets physically opened. That makes damaged text readable even when the material is burned or badly damaged. The method turns hidden writing into something researchers can study. The result is access to words that would otherwise stay locked inside a fragile historical object. The original scroll survives and the text does not have to be lost with it. John Greenwald Jr. started a U.S. government transparency website while he was still a teenager. He was not building a government office or a newsroom. He was one person trying to make public records easier to find. The site, the Black Vault, collected and shared government records. That turned scattered documents into a searchable public resource. Instead of one person hunting through papers, visitors could use the site to search information in one place. The archive became easier to reach. That left a lasting result. One teenager's archive became a transparency tool people could actually use. Only 7 tubular lifeboats were built, and they stayed in service for 83 years. That is an unusually small production run for a rescue craft. Most working boats are replaced much sooner, especially when equipment and standards keep advancing. The reason was durability. The tubular lifeboat design stayed useful because it could keep doing its job without being retired quickly. Instead of being replaced after a short run, the same 7 boats kept working across generations. Newer equipment came and went around them. That leaves a rare result in engineering, a tiny batch outlasting much newer gear because the design remained useful long after its first launch. Neighbors thought Naughty Dog was filming adult films because Way of the Warrior motion capture was happening in an apartment hallway. Naughty Dog was working on Way of the Warrior, an early game project that needed motion capture moves recorded in a very tight space. Motion capture means recording a performer's movements so the game can reuse them. In that hallway, the setup looked nothing like normal apartment life. From outside, neighbors only saw an odd production inside a closed apartment hallway. The visual impression was enough to trigger the wrong guess. The result was a classic early development workaround, a studio squeezing game production into ordinary housing where the hallway itself became the story. Bukit-Gombak and Bukit-Batok stations have roofs based on the HDB logo. HDB stands for the Housing and Development Board, Singapore's public housing agency. That makes the roof reference a civic symbol, not a random decoration. The logo was translated into architecture, so the station roof became a structural form with the same visual language. It links transit infrastructure directly to the housing system it serves. At Bukit-Gombak and Bukit-Batok, that means daily travel passes under a shape tied to public housing identity. The station does more than shelter passengers, it carries a recognizable civic form. The result is a transit roof that quietly extends a public symbol into everyday infrastructure. People pass under it without stopping, but the station still reads as part of the same civic landscape. Fans of the Exit 8 traveled from around the world to visit one Japanese subway station. They were not heading to a theme park or a special exhibit. They were going to a normal transit stop that the game made meaningful. That happens when a game ties its experience to a real place. Players want to stand where the setting they recognized actually exists. The station became a destination in its own right. People crossed borders just to see the place behind the game. That is a real tourism effect. A game can turn an ordinary station into a place people travel to see in person. Winnipeg's Holy Trinity Anglican Church is at risk of structural failure within the next few years. This is a historic building, so the concern is not paint or ornament. It is the church's ability to stay standing safely. Structural failure means the fabric of the building itself is compromised. The problem is in the load-bearing system that keeps the church stable. If that risk worsens, the building could become unsafe or unusable. Then preservation stops being routine upkeep and becomes urgent intervention. For a historic church, that means a race to keep the structure standing at all. The outcome is measured in whether the building can remain part of the city. Grow a Garden once had more than 20 million simultaneous players on Roblox. That means millions were inside the same game at the same time, not just counted over months. Concurrent players measure a live peak. Roblox can concentrate audiences quickly because one platform funnels huge numbers into a single game session. Grow a Garden sat inside that reach. The result was a live-scale peak few games ever hit. The number mattered because it showed concentration, not just popularity. A Roblox game can reach that size when simple design meets platform reach. The outcome is millions sharing one moment inside the same game.